Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Simply Hermosa. I'm super honored to have my very good friend, Yovannah Diovanti, here in the house. She is our featured artist. Simply Hermosa is going to be doing a little bit of different programming. We're going to be celebrating the arts. We're going to be celebrating our musicians, and we're going to be celebrating anyone that contributes to STEM. That's going to be one of our main focuses when we actually launch our nonprofit. We're in the process of doing that. So the show will be celebrating not only artists, but people of STEM, because that's something that we really feel passionate about. But I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for letting me bully you into coming on here.
No, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
I'm gonna introduce you, and as you know, I got to meet you, I think about 4 or 5 years ago,
I think it was
in my first endeavor of a nonprofit. So you actually provided the art for our grand opening, and I fell in love with your pictures. And then I fell in love with you because you're such an amazing, warm, caring woman. It really felt like you and I had known each other for such a long time. And so we welcome you here at Simply Hermosa.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to give us a little intro about yourself? How long have you been doing art? And then we're going to get to the question.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I actually do clearly remember when we first met, and it was really nice to be a part of that event that you had. Okay, so when it comes to how long I have been doing this, I have been working as an artist or doing art it's almost 25 years now, so it's been quite a while. Thank you. Yes, I have managed to survive. You know, when I first thought about becoming an artist, I had actually dreamed of that my entire life, but I didn't start doing it until I was about close to 30, and it came about not intentionally. It just happened to be life that put me there, right? And when I started, it was meant to be more than, hey, I need to, find another way, an alternate way of making money, and bring in income rather than a passion. The minute I held the brush in my hand, I realized, oh my God, I was born to do this. And I became so passionate about it that I remember that I would paint for hours and hours nonstop and days. And of course I had kids, but they will tell you now that they're older, that they're adults. They will tell you that I used to actually hold them in my hands and put them to sleep in my arms. Not in my hands, in my arms. I would put them to sleep in my arms as I was painting. So,
wow, that's beautiful.
It's been a while.
That's beautiful. So do you think that contributed to your son's art as well?
I believe so. And they're actually all artistic. They did not tune into their artistic creativity until later in life, so now that they're adults. But I would say that it was very much so. I still remember how instead of having, how many parents have, of course, now an iPad or a laptop for the children or a cell phone, I used to put in the center of the table, instead of flowers or anything else, I used to put cans or containers with brushes, paints, crayons, markers. And it was just my way of getting them, I guess, in a way, very subtly, to get them to go into art. But they did not embrace it as much as I would have liked to until they were older.
Oh, wow. But that is something that, as a mom, you have to multitask and you have to include them in whatever you're doing, especially when you're by yourself, when you don't have that extra pair of hands to watch them and you're trying to create. So what does art, when you're in your space, creating, what happens?
Okay, and were you asking me as a mom, like how would I do it, or is it now that I'm no longer?
Because what I really was fascinated with is you told the story that you had 3 colors that you started with based on your situation, that sometimes we're not given everything, and it's hard when you're first starting out. You don't have all the tools that you might need, and it's so interesting to see how much you can create with just 3 colors.
Right. And so, it's really funny because the 3 colors is almost symbolic of like the whole thing. I back when I started painting, as I said, it wasn't because I thought about, hey, I want to be an artist. This is what I'm going to do. It was basically life putting me in that situation. So I was going through a divorce. I had ended up moving out of my marital home with my 3 kids. I was pretty much on my own. And at that point, I had been trying, like I said, to come up with other means of income without leaving my children alone all the time or whatnot. So I ended up realizing, hey, you know what? I can do this. I can paint, right? And but of course, the money wasn't there. So I ended up purchasing the three primary colors. And I figured, you know what? With this, I can make all the colors that come about. And I realized after buying those 3 colors that they became the beginning of my artwork in, say, the last 25 years. It was the initiation of me exploring with color combinations or color, how to make, say, purple from what colors, right? And so you have to remember, too, that I did not have formal education in art. So it was more of experimenting, and it took me a while to do it. But you had asked before, like, how does it, being a mom, how does this come into play? And I think that, at a very beginning of my career, I was forced to actually, carry my kids with me everywhere I went, and many times that involved taking them to arts and craft shows, and taking them to the studio to be there for long hours. And so they were always around art in that sense. Not only my art, but I was mostly renting small studios with other artists, and so they also became a part of that artistic life.
So they were part of that art community as well. And so for those of us that don't know you, like people out there don't know who Yovannah, my Yovannah is. And yes, Julie B, she is an amazing woman and a beautiful artist as well.
Thank you.
For me, when I visited you in your home/studio, I felt so welcomed, so energized. It was a beautiful space. And then we had the most amazing breakfast. So not only are you an artist in your art itself, but you're also very creative in your food as well. So it really does show what kind of passion and what kind of love you put into everything. So it's, if anybody is out there that doesn't know you, they're missing out on an amazing woman. So Thank you so much for being a part of this, and then sharing your story, telling us where is your studio for those that might be interested in purchasing, and then of course, what are your social media handles?
Okay, so if I may go back to, you were mentioning the studio and how you came over and you could feel, I'm glad that you could feel the love and you could feel warmth in the studio. And not only that, but in the food. I love cooking. I love feeding people. I think that's the way I show love.
That's your love language.
My love language, yes. So it's really funny how somehow, I don't know how, but somehow throughout the years, as I developed more of a passion for cooking, it almost became as important as my art. And it's kind of funny if you say, we go back to the number 3, right? If I say that I love 3 things the most in life, it would be like my kids. I have a tremendous passion for cooking. I many times will say I was born to be a chef, and I do come from my lineage of chefs. But anyway, then I really have a passion for the painting, right? And I can tell that I will paint until the day I die, or at least until I'm able to, right? So when it comes to the studio, I do my best to transmit an essence of love in all I do at the studio, whether it means decorating it, putting it together, or doing my actual art pieces. I want people to feel the energy, which is my energy. And I want them to feel the love, which is my love. So many times when I post pieces, I will say, I have created pieces of love. And those are basically chunks of love that come from me. It's an extension of me. And the same thing happens with the cooking, because when I cook, I love to see people smile, and I love to. Many times, people will come to my house. Okay, not everybody can come to my house. Okay? Many people will come to my place, and they will say, like, they'll sit down and they eat, and then they start, especially the women, they start going like this, right? And then as they do this, I can tell they love the cooking, right? They love the food. But yes, so the art studio. Now going back to the art studio is actually now a live-in workspace, which is really, I was really excited when I moved there. It's really funny because COVID actually brought me to that space. I was trying to make sure that I could handle, just the whole situation with COVID and the reduction of, for most of us as
Hours of
freelancers and as
silence.
artists, it was just COVID was really hard financially. So I have always been a person who is very gifted in the sense of bouncing back, and I'm very quick at adapting, right? And so in doing this, I thought, you know what, I have a studio and I have a home, and these are my expenses. How about I put them together, right? And so I very quickly found a space that is a living workspace, and not everybody provides those spaces nowadays, but I was fortunate to know or be connected with the managers who manage properties for artists, especially those that are somehow tied into the city. I'm not quite sure how that works, but anyway, I was able to find this not only living workspace, but also a storefront. And so I was like, wow, this is like the dream, right?
Yeah.
And so I had this crazy idea originally that I would move in there and I would live the dream that I would have done at 25, and couldn't do, So, of course, very quickly I realize that, oh my God, it takes a lot of creativity and patience and hard work to be able to put everything in one place. And not only that, but the biggest challenge, I think, was not making a huge mess, because I'm a very messy artist. And if you guys ever stop by my place and I'm working, you'll see, like, I say, wait, everything's trashed, right? Because I leave brushes everywhere and paint everywhere, and I stain everything, so many times I have to repaint the floor. But anyway, it's always a pleasure. It has been a wonderful thing because I'm on 4th Avenue and 22nd. So it's a little, for those of you who haven't been there, it's called Casa Diovanti. And at this point, I only open formally a couple times a year, but I also, if you want to come and see the studio, I also do it by appointment, or I'm usually available on the weekends. And that's when I actually try to do some work from home. And if you stop by and see the studio, you see it open, then you're welcome to come in. And so anyway, but what has been wonderful about that space is that it's located in an area that it's very populated, I guess you could say, with people who are indigent, who are not as fortunate as many people. I don't know what the proper term would be politically, but they're less fortunate. Let's put it that way. And so it's kind of like it's been an addition, and I've gotten feedback as to how nice it is to see a space such as the one I have, and to have it brighten up the place. And actually on the corner where it's close to Santa Rita Park, I think it's called.
Yes.
And so many times I have seen people looking at the art. So I do my best to post the paintings on the windows so that anybody who passes by can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I have gotten really good feedback. And even those people who pass by, who live in the area, who do not have the good fortune of having a home, they sometimes I walk by and they see me and they say "La artista."
Aw.
I'm an artista, so it's a good feeling.
It is, and being so fortunate to be able to come into your workspace, into your gallery. It's such a beautiful space. It's open, it's airy, and it does it represents, I feel, everything about you. I mean, it's so colorful and just welcoming. So if you're very fortunate to be able to come into her studio and see some of her art, you're very, very lucky. And I told you one day that there's a picture above the door, near the door, that really represented everything that Simply Hermosa had stood for. And so I want you to kind of describe that picture for those people that haven't been able to see it. And I'm going to post it on my social media. I think I did. But it's a beautiful picture, and it shows so much diversity and creativity.
Thank you. I actually, it's a painting that represents women, and it's not only just say women, but it also has it represents women of color in this sense. That's important to me. I am a woman of color, and so that has a lot to do with what I'm trying to say with the image. But aside from that, it's women's in different generations and also from different backgrounds. And so for me to have a representation in one image that shows different ethnicities and then women of different ages, and it's I never thought about it until now that you're asking, but the bottom of the painting, so it's kind of like a pyramid, right? And it shows like different stages, and at the top it's actually a woman that is kind of like the leader, right? And then as you go in the middle, I have the elders. And you have to think about this or remember this, right? When I paint, I usually don't pre-sketch things or don't think about things too much. I just kind of do like more like, what am I feeling today? What am I feeling at this moment? And it's like a moment in time that is captured in the painting, right? So at the bottom, in the middle is wise women, and they are shown by giving them gray hair or white hair. And then at the bottom, there's children, right? And the children are male. And don't ask me why at that moment I thought that was important. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we're nurturers and the fact that we are the ones who actually give birth to children and to men, right? So for me, that's very powerful because I did grow up in a matriarchal family, and even though we were taught to be respectful of men, it was the women that would actually make decisions. And so in this painting, in showing different generations and different backgrounds, in my mind, it was showing the importance of women who are leaders, women who are in charge of passing on culture and food and language and everything that we keep alive. So it's very special to me, and I'm glad you liked it.
It's such a,
and I hope you guys come and see it.
It is such a moving picture, and every time I see it, it went to my nonprofit, the original nonprofit, and it was part of your display. And I stayed looking at that picture for hours because there's such power in that. There's such, it's inspiring. And every piece of art that I've seen, and there's a little girl in there too that I adore. And someday I'm going to get that picture and hang her in my house because I love her. And Cassandra, she's amazing as well. Cassandra, your niece. Cassandra Becerra.
I didn't realize. I forgot about the comments there. Oh, thank you, Cassandra, for joining in.
Just reading this, I don't think my tia Yovannah realizes the impact that she has on the women in our family as well as the community. Her advocacy through art is impressionable, inspiring, and admirable. She speaks for the voices that cannot speak. She brings out the beauty in our culture, traditions, and worlds. She brings people together. It is really magical.
Thank you so much.
And she is, again, you're one of the women that I admire, that inspires me, being part of Simply Hermosa, we bring women of every size, culture. We want to know, we want to celebrate you, and we want to know, I know what makes you beautiful, but what do you find beautiful, or what makes you beautiful? And we had this conversation, so we're not going to get emotional because Diego always gets on to me for making everybody cry.
Thank you. and we did have this conversation, and it's true, we got emotional, because the long version is very, it's just a loaded question, I think, especially for me as a woman and a woman of color. Do we have time to touch into a little bit into the longer version, or how are we doing with time?
This is your interview, and it's really up to you. I want you to feel comfortable, but this is a question that changes day by day. Yesterday I posted a What Makes You Beautiful by a young lady, and her story, it's hard not to get emotional with that question. Like, it hits you in so many different ways, and every day it changes. Every day. Like, it just depends on how you're feeling that day. But at the core of it, it's an easy question, but it's a very hard question.
True. So I gave this some thought, and so I would have to answer in two answers, right? So I have there's two ways to see beauty, and it's internal beauty and external beauty. And for me, for many reasons, I focused on developing the interior beauty. In doing so, I became aware of many things. And so I think I'm beautiful inside because I'm guided by love. And so in being guided, or the reason I'm guided by love, is because I realized at a later age, later time in life, that we are all light beings, and that we have energy within us, and that energy is very powerful. And you have a responsibility as a woman and as a human being to be aware that every energy that you emit hits someone or touches someone, right? And so in this case, if we think about the immediate people that surround us, it's very impactful, right? It has a huge impact on them. So we want that energy to be love if at all possible, right? And my kids would probably say it wasn't always all love, but I tell them that's because I was younger and ignorant, and now I'm wiser. And so in this, if you think about it, about that energy, and we realize that we are part of a huge force on Earth, which is humans and animals and plants and everything that is here, then you realize how important it is for you to be responsible with that energy and ensure that you are part of creating a balance on everything that is on Earth. And so I would say that's what makes me beautiful inside.
Okay.
And so I know that if I don't answer the other question, the other part of the question, you're going to point it out. And so what makes me beautiful outside? Today I'm going to answer all of my characteristics make me beautiful. And I'm not going to say that with ego. I'm saying it from the standpoint of the fact that it is a tear of like allergies, okay? I'm going to call it that.
We already cried the other day. We already cried the other day. There was no cameras recording. Yeah.
I became aware also later in life. I became aware that everything that you see here, whether it's my hair, like it's very horse hair.
It is beautiful hair. It is beautiful hair.
My skin, which is dark complexion, my nose, my high cheekbones, everything, my full lips, everything are the physical characteristics of. I come from the Otomi people. And those are the characteristics of the Otomi people. So when I realized this, I realized how important and how beautiful it is to nowadays, today, when I'm standing here today, represent generations and generations and generations of people that went through struggles, that were resilient, that survived, and that today, my presence here and the way I look is a living proof of their resilience. And so I think that that in itself is beautiful. And this is an important realization for me, and I hope that other people who do not see themselves as beautiful, who have the same physical characteristics as I do, realize this, because back when I was younger, I grew up not knowing that I was beautiful, or not. I was conditioned to believe that being dark was not beautiful. And so to realize after many years of seeing myself as an ugly person, to realize, hey, you know what? The beauty is in the fact that I have every physical characteristic that represents my people. That in itself is beautiful. So.
Okay, I'll take it. It is such an empowering question. It really is. It when you take it at face value, it is an easy question, but then when you start thinking about it and you start thinking, how does that question impact me? And I feel that it has been such a beautiful journey experiencing women telling me what makes them beautiful. Because I feel like the more we share these stories, the more we talk about how our experience have shaped us into who we are, that we can heal each other, that we can heal that self-confidence that sometimes is lacking. And, we all go through some trials and tribulations and moments of feeling ugly and feeling not worthy. But when you talk about your resiliency, and when you talk about how beautiful your heart is, and you talk about how your art touches so many people, that is something that is beautiful about you. So we are so honored to have you here. As we launch Simply Hermosa into its own nonprofit, some of our goals have been to create some body positive programming, and then of course, some programs that are going to empower and show other women that there's options out there. There's some amazing examples just in our community, like our tias, like our nanas.
That's true. I think that the reason I said yes to this interview, even though I have extreme anxiety before a recording or cameras or anything like that.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm holding it together. Okay, hi. Put away the tequila, please. No, just kidding. I did not drink. I do my best not to.
I was gonna bring the wine, but I didn't think they were gonna let us stay in the studio.
I would have expected my niece Cassandra to be here with the wine somewhere. But what actually got me to say yes, because I was hesitant about it. It's just my own fear, right? Is that you did mention, hey, like you never know who you might inspire. And I think that's very important to me. It's important because I remember looking up to many women and saying, or looking at many women and seeing how they were, am I allowed to say badasses?
You're allowed to say, we've said way worse.
How they were like what I consider to be like badasses, right? I was like, oh my God.
Unas chingonas.
Unas chingonas, exactly. And I used to say, I want to be like that woman, I want to be, grow up to be wise and have my stuff together. And okay, that didn't that didn't happen because I became an artist. But I believe that I have grown to be wise in many ways. I continue to improve and get that stuff like more. It's like a guy told me one time, you're like a diamond in the rough, right? You want to smooth out those edges and you become a beautiful diamond, right? And it stuck with me for a long time. And I thought, you know what? I am beautiful. I just have to kind of like smooth out those rough edges. But it's true, there might be other women, other younger women, who may either be in the same space that I was before. They might be in the same space that I was when I was younger. And I always notice how, you see young people coming especially into the field of artists, right? And many times, for many years, they don't do this anymore, I don't think. But for many years, they used to tell us, like, don't go into art because you'll be a starving artist forever. And you know what? I don't believe that. And I encourage young people to go for what they feel. So to nurture their soul with whatever makes them happy. And if art is the one, then just, bust your butt to get to where you want to, and it will happen. And so for me, it's taken 25 years to really say, you know what, I want to just do. I don't want to impress anyone. I don't want to have art be my business. I want it to be my passion for the rest of my life. And I want people to see that, and people to, maybe younger generations, to say, hey, if you are guided by your passions and by love, then your life is much more richer.
Absolutely. I had Melissa on here the other day, and she owns Letico, and she's another artist with food. And she's been such an amazing, inspiring woman as well that, I've been very blessed to have met, and blessed to be, to surround myself with. I have some amazing women that I look up to, that inspire me to be better. And then to challenge me to ask that question about myself over and over again, what makes me beautiful? And it's just being who I am, just being me. I wouldn't, like, some days I think, I want to change this or I want to change that. But no, with all of my experiences, with everything that I've been through, and taking accountability, that's part of being beautiful as well. We don't always make the right decisions. We don't always, sometimes we mishandle people, but being able to be resilient and acknowledge that, what, I didn't do so well today, but tomorrow I'm going to be better. That's something beautiful. And there's a lot of women that feel stuck sometimes on the mistakes that happen. So we really want to focus on being a safe space, being able to, again, inspire other women to say, you know what, you might be feeling this right now. You might be in this situation right now, but you keep going. There's other things that are out there for you.
Right.
And you not just do art, you're also a translator.
Oh my gosh, yes. So my actual job, or my career is as a court interpreter. So I have a certain gift with language, and you'll see me mispronounce things sometimes still, because my first language is Spanish. So I do feel much more comfortable speaking Spanish, of course, but I think I do okay with English.
You're not too bad.
So I actually got a degree in Spanish translation and interpretation from the University of Arizona. But I did start, again, we go back to looking at the role models that you see. And I was working for, am I allowed to say the names of the courts or no? Courthouses?
Yeah, I think so.
So I was working for Tucson City Court, and I was a court clerk. I was actually a person who used to work in parking citations. So basically sorting stuff, right? And I remember seeing, and it was the women, right? For some reason, I've always just kind of paid attention to women, I guess because I'm a woman, and I would like to, become like some of my role models in the future, right? This is what I was thinking back then. And I used to see the court interpreters just handle themselves in such a professional manner. And I used to listen to their skills, and I used to think, wow, that's amazing. Of course, back then, my accent was so heavy, and my knowledge of English was so limited that I decided, what, I want to go back to school. So think about it, right? It's seeing someone perform their role in the community got me to say, you know what, I want to go back to school. And I already had 3 children. And so I put myself back to school, and I did. It took me 10 years to graduate. So whenever I see moms and I see them struggling, I'm like, listen, you're better off starting now, because 10 years will come around And next thing you know, you need money for your kids, I don't know, graduation or for their college, and then you don't have it. So you might as well just start now. So I love my job. It's a great job. I think that it gives you an opportunity to assist someone who is in a bad situation for whatever reason, and then at least facilitate the language, the communication aspect of it, right? So I have actually been a court interpreter since 1999, pretty much since I started painting. And it ties in. So when I went to school, not only did I get the Spanish translation and interpretation degree, but I also studied linguistics. And so linguistics really helps when it comes to being aware of how you communicate through a painting. So for, say, 5 years, when I first started painting, I was recruited to volunteer to work with youth at risk, which were actually kids that has somehow lost either their parents, they either passed away or committed suicide or went to prison, and they ended up with their grandparents. So many of the children were considered to be at risk because they had already suffered trauma, right? Mm-hmm. So I was recruited because I also have a background of my parents' situation with domestic violence, and they said, we think you would be great for it, right? So the first time I explored communication through the arts was to help the children see how it is that I, as an artist, was letting that energy, and I would see myself as a funnel, I guess you could say, and then it would come from my heart or from my inside, from my brain, and I would use my hands to get that out in a positive way. So I would always tell the children, like, you can let out, negative stuff, you can let out happy feelings in a positive way, and you can make money. And so what a better way to heal, right? So I worked with those children for 5 years, but it was teaching them basically, hey, it's so hard to talk about a story. It was hard for me to talk about, being third-party domestic violence or impacted as a third party, right, by domestic violence. That it took me years. And for many years, I was told, like, no, don't talk about this. This is kind of like, como dicen, airing your dirty laundry. And but that I felt that should stop, and the more you talk about certain things, the more you realize, hey, there's others that might see like they're not alone, right, in what they feel, in the trauma that they suffered. So so for the children, I would say, just see art as a page in a book, right? You're writing your book. Every piece that you make it for you, and you don't have to necessarily share what it is that people are seeing, what it is that you created. People can look at it, they can love it, they can hate it, whatever. It's up to you if you want to share your story as to why you did this piece or not. It's like nobody has to know exactly what you do or why you do it. It's just a piece that you created, and you leave it behind, right? You leave it out there. So the kids really responded well to the whole thing, and it was a very beautiful experience. But that was the first time I actually combined linguistics with the art.
Beautiful. That again, one of the many, many reasons why you are beautiful. I would like to take a few minutes to talk about some of my sponsors. Because of them, I'm able to have some content, and so I'm very grateful to Ledico. I'm very grateful to Glam Liz, to Veronica's V Skin and Lash. We are still doing our raffle, and this is something that's so important to us because it gives an opportunity for young minds to go to school, and this is specifically for middle income students, because as a middle income student, you're not you don't qualify for so many other things, right. Because mom and dad, well, gracias a Dios, they're working, or they make above the threshold to not be considered low income. And so a lot of parents are working their butts off, and they're just making just enough, especially right now in the economy the way that it is, that they're just making just enough to just pay the basics. And so when somebody goes off to school and school's just starting, you don't realize that there's, they might have if they're lucky, they've got a full ride, or they get 80% of their tuition paid. Well, you still have to pay that other 20%.
Exactly.
With board and, with food costs, everything is rising. And so we're just trying to help some of these students, help mom, help dad, help the abuelas, because a lot of kids are with their abuelos too. And so a lot of kids are very, very blessed, and they just need a little more help. And so, and these scholarships are very, we're humble, and we want to be able to help as many kids as we can. But this is our second year, so we've tried to keep our expenses down, and we're asking for any contributions to the Simply Hermosa Women in STEM, the Barbershop Academy Scholarship, and the Arlena Sanchez Scholarship. The Women in STEM is, of course, just for women, high school graduating women, and the Arlena Sanchez is open to both young men and young ladies. And it's to be applied to fees, to possibly going, if they want to go into be journeymen, if they want to be construction, if they want to be barbers. Obviously, we have these scholarships that are available, and I'm asking the community for help. So a lot of really good friends have donated some amazing prizes, like the Yeti that was donated by friends and family of Tesoro Business Services. That's a value of $275. Pop Studios, thank you, Diego, for donating a Pop Studio podcast episode. Ramada Tucson, they've given us a huge discount on a special event. Hola Tucson magazine, if you're trying to get your business out there, that's 2 months advertising of a half-page ad in their magazine as well as on social media. So that's a huge gift for a business that's trying to advertise. We got 30-minute massage by Move to Evolve, glam services by Lissa, Sterling Silver. She donated a men's set, a necklace, a chain, and a bracelet, and that's over a $65 value. The AZ Happy Shop, she's another one of our sponsors, and she's donated to a business or to just anybody 2 custom shirts and hat combo. So again, these are some really good prizes from some amazing businesses. Letico is donating a charcuterie board for 8.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've got some great prizes. I wanted to talk about real quick Pam's Busy Factory. They've got an event going on as well, and they're going to be doing a grand opening of their second location at the Tucson Park Mall. They're looking for they're hiring some people. So if you're looking for a part-time job or a full-time job, they are having a hiring fair this Saturday next to the Shoe Palace, 3 to 5 p.m. For any questions, call Giovanni or Jody. And then again, Lissa is running a special. She's always doing great work out of her eyelash studio, and she's an amazing hairstylist. And then also my very, very good friend, Veronica, she is just an amazing person. And if you're looking to sell or buy, she is your person. She is your homegirl.
And now, if you, I know you just listed many names of many people. So if somebody does want to
buy
go back
one,
and
if everything is on my Facebook page. If you're interested in buying one of those raffle tickets, just reach out to me. They're $20, and it's going to get you into our raffle. We've extended this raffle until the end of August, just because everybody's gone back to school. So there's a lot of expenses that are coming out. You need that Yeti to go to the football game to do some tailgating. That's coming up soon,
Yes.
And
I'm buying my tickets.
and then, Glam Liz, she's donated $100 gift certificate to get glammed. So we've got such an amazing community of business owners, of empowering women. And just, we really are trying to make a difference. It's something to inspire other women. And then, of course, trying to get our kids empowered, because if our kids are not empowered, we're not doing something right as a community.
Exactly.
You know, it starts at home. Our prayers are to the Moreno family that tragically lost their daughter to domestic violence. And so we just need to continue to be there for each other, to pray for each other, to love each other. Like you said, we are not going to get better if we're constantly not giving out that support that people need.
Right. And, you know, you mentioned something about like the community and the support and the people who do need the younger generation who's coming in, who are the leaders of tomorrow, who need the support. And I think that that's really important for us to remember, is that, you know, the children are of the community. You know, we all need to put more effort, I think, into making sure that they get to where they need to go, that they have the ability to make their dreams come true. And so if we can facilitate that, and, you know, and we could talk about also how I can contribute into that. But I was telling Bernadette too, there are many artists in the community, and many times we have things that we can, you know, easily say, hey, you know what, we can contribute this, and maybe for raffles or whatnot, for fundraising, it's always a nice idea to do that. And I know that maybe many artists will be like, speak for yourself, lady. I don't want to give anything. That's okay. But at least if we put it out there and you ask, and, you know, you never know. It might be a good way to actually help you with the fundraising. But, yeah.
And when we are complete with all of our programming, one of our goals is to have some STEM workshops, and also because, again, it's so important to concentrate on the science, the technology, engineering, and math, that people don't understand that art falls into that, music falls into that. So if we can continue to inspire our kids and continue to, you know, enlighten them to do the arts, the sciences, the music, it's just going to be a better place for all of us.
And you know, when you say that, you know, art and music are much of a part of that, my kids were science and engineer based, kind of inclined. So it's thanks to the arts that really art minds open up. And I, when I have workshops, I many times say to people, I'm gonna play, say, Beethoven or some classical music, so that you can, you know, open up that creative mind or part of your brain, right? And they're surprised, like, oh my God. And so it definitely is important for the children to have art involved in those three, in the STEM, right? In the three categories of math, science, and
engineering.
So, yeah, definitely.
So I am so grateful that you decided to allow me to pull you onto my show without giving you like a choice. So.
Well, thank you. And thank you for those of you. Oh, I think I moved something.
No, you're okay.
Thank you for those of you who showed up and listened to us. And I'm very grateful that you invited me and that you made me, no, that you got me to join.
That's one thing about me that everybody knows, is that, oh, okay, well, we're going to, I gently but firmly ask, you know, we're going to do this, so come on to the show.
She said to me, I'm not going to give you much time to think about it because you're going to say no. And she was right. You were right.
Well, you did say, you know what, Bernadette, I've never done this. And I'm like, oh, but there's a first time, and it's always going to be with me.
That's true. That's so true.
So I'm grateful to you that I got you out here, and you did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Okay. So for those of you that are afraid of public speaking, this is kind of a gentle way of getting out of your, you know, insecurities, because I am that person. I am shy. Like, if you were to meet me and not know nothing about me, I'm very shy and I'm very introverted, and the kids and everybody laugh, but I really am. Like, I disconnect, and I love my little circle. But this year it's all about coming out and talking about who I am and talking about why Simply Hermosa is important, and giving a good example of you can do anything.
It is a great example. I'm always amazed when I participate in your events as to how you can get the large crowd and the women, and how they exemplify the idea of being truly hermosas, right? And simply hermosas. That's like a huge, the word in itself says so much, you know? So,
Yeah, I'm incredibly lucky. I'm incredibly lucky every day that I get to talk to another amazing woman. And I love, the influencers that we've got out there that are doing great things and they're getting recognized. But I'm also about that mom out there that's, working hard to put food on the table and just being there, because sometimes she doesn't even have enough for herself. So we want to celebrate those women as well.
Right, exactly. I think more if you see a younger generation who are the influencers usually, and not to say that the more mature women are not, but I think it's just so much harder for us, at least those of us who are on the other side of the 55.
It's hard to get out of your comfort zone, and that's me under it's hard. It doesn't matter what age you are. It can be very scary. It's intimidating because you're like, what are they going to say about me? What are they going to think about me?
Or even to just speak, to get used to the social media, to get used to these screens, and just right now I didn't even know how to actually cut and paste what you just asked me to cut and paste. So just those little things become a challenge for some of us. And so I was going to say that it is that if you connect, I think, the younger generation with the older generation, we can benefit so much from it. There's so many skills that the younger generation brings on the women, and then the older women bring, mainly experience and knowledge.
They bring a little bit of the flavor.
Yeah, definitely.
The little bit of the spices that you're just starting out. You're a broth, but we start putting all those ingredients in, and then you just become a beautiful soup.
Right. It's kind of like a guacamole.
Love it.
So,
all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for being a part of my Tuesday evening. I loved being here with you. Thank you so much, Yovannah, for always supporting Simply Hermosa and supporting me. It's been a beautiful friendship, and I'm so proud of you and so excited to continue our partnerships and to our we need a wine night. We haven't had one, so we need one of those.
Thank you, Bernadette, for having me. And I've always admired what you do. So
thank you.
You're such a hardworking woman. I'm like, yes, I want to be like her one day.
And I want to be like you. So there you go.
Have a good night.
All right.
Everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.